I was having y'all, your boy Rico from Street Scores, and this is some big news. This came out yesterday. I'm surprised a lot more people aren't talking about it, but Ron Rivera says that basically Washington will find a way to pay DARON Payne. We're going to break down his exact quote and how serious he sounds about it and how much of a priority DARON Payne may be to him. Of course, we got to talk about the football side of it. How important is DARON Payne to this defense? This new and improved elite defense that we've been expecting for years now. He is definitely a big piece of it. We're going to take a look at some crazy stats and really talk about why he matters to this team so much and why losing him would definitely be noticeable. I'm really excited about Phidarian Mathis. John Ridgeway has been holding it down, and we have a lot of great depth. Casey Suhill, F.A. Obata, James Smith-Williams, all of these guys. But losing to DARON Payne, we'll feel it. We'll notice it on the field, and we're going to talk about why. Also, we got to take a look at the money side. That's the whole problem. How much money will DARON Payne more than likely require, and how much cap space will we have available, and what moves can we make to create some cap space? But before we dive into all of that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get a notification immediately, and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one, make sure you pull up every game day for the Commanders live play-by-play analysis streams with me. We laugh and learn together. I break down everything that's going on throughout the game. Again, it's every game day. Regular season, I'm speaking it into existence postseason as well. Make sure you pull up and show some love. Have some fun, man. And without further ado, let's get it. All right, so the first person I saw report on this was JP Finley, and I've noticed that some of y'all let me know that it's pronounced Finley and not Finlay. Appreciate that update. But he tweeted out, Ron Rivera tells me that keeping Jonathan Allen and DARON Payne together is vital for the Commanders. Payne is slated for free agency, but Rivera says, quote, it's going to be hard, but we're going to do it, unquote. Sounds very serious about it. Let's go into JP Finley's article. He said Ron Rivera revealed that his Commanders need to bring back DARON Payne next year. And for anybody watching the Washington defense this season, the head coach speaks the truth. Quote, you look at the defensive line and you've got these two tackles that we want to keep together. We want to do everything we can do to keep them together, unquote. And Washington's defensive front has dominated this season, and Payne, along with Jonathan Allen and Montez Sweat, have been keys to the resurgence of the Commanders. The defense is carrying the offense, and you can argue the defensive line is probably carrying the defense. So at the end of the day, it starts and ends with this defensive line right now as to why we're winning so many games. Now, the secondary has played very well, and their improvement is huge. Love what the secondary is doing, especially the younger guys as well. And again, I think Bobby McCain gets way too much hate. He's actually been playing pretty well for us. I mean, even just the positional flex to go from our starting free safety to our starting slot corner basically is just insane in itself. But what Cameron Curl and Derek Forrest are doing, Benjamin St. Juste, man, it's actually really ridiculous. And then the fact that Jamin Davis is our only good healthy linebacker right now, and he's our only linebacker on the field at times, is huge. I don't think Jamin Davis is getting enough recognition from his fan base. It's Jamin Davis and John Bostic right now for the past few games. That's literally it. And again, there are times where we just literally can't have John Bostic on the field, and Jamin Davis is your only linebacker out there. But again, it starts and finishes with this defensive line. They are balling. Right now, DARON Payne and Jonathan Allen lead the team in sacks with 6.5 each so far. They are the only pair of defensive tackles with 5+ sacks in the league. So you could definitely argue that this is the best defensive tackle duo in the NFL. Easily. Easy argument right there just off the stats. Also, between the two of them, they have a combined 25 tackles for loss. That is crazy through just 11 games so far. And again, Montez Sweat, everybody else is doing their thing. We're potentially getting Chase Young back. But these two interior defensive tackles, man, it's unfair. Love Phidarian Mathis. Can't wait to see what he can provide for this team when he comes back. But he's more so known as a run stuffer. Without his injury, we probably don't bring in John Ridgeway, because that's the important thing that we got to separate right there. DARON Payne, Jonathan Allen, great run stoppers, but the reason that they're just so impactful and so important and such a vital part of this defense is because they penetrate, they get sacks, they get tackles for losses, they do their work in the backfield. But most importantly, they get to the quarterback. For Darian Mathis, what he was supposed to do for us and what he'll do when he comes back fully healthy, I mean, he has some pass rush potential, he has some penetration potential. I started to see a little something from him in the preseason, even the beginning of that first game of the season against the Jaguars. But the reason that we brought in John Ridgeway specifically to replace him is that we need a double team eater, a run stuffer, a guy that just clogs up the hole. That's why you're allowed to have Jamin Davis on the field as the only linebacker. A John Ridgeway and potentially a Phidarian Mathis, and this is going to be really interesting too, because we're going to keep Phidarian Mathis and John Ridgeway on the roster next year, because you can't let John Ridgeway go after the way he's playing this year. So that's really interesting in itself. But those guys have a specific skill set. Stop the run, eat up double teams, allow Jonathan Allen, Daron Payne, Montez Sweat, and potentially Chase Young to make the plays that they're making on one-on-ones. And again, having a John Ridgeway and a Phidarian Mathis allows you to go 5 defensive linemen with a true nose tackle, and also just allows Jamin Davis to be the sole linebacker on the field at any given moment, because that's ridiculous in the NFL, the fact that we're getting away with that right now, honestly. But at the end of the day, as hype as I am about those two guys, again, with their specific skill set, they can't do what Daron Payne and Jonathan Allen do as far as getting to the quarterback. You got to keep Daron Payne here, man. You got to. Ron Rivera even said, quote, "We know it's going to be hard, but we're going to do it," unquote, as far as keeping Payne long term. Thank goodness we got that contract done with Jonathan Allen long term a couple of seasons ago. I mean, thank goodness. And it's crazy because most people play best their contract year. Jonathan Allen got better and has been playing his best football since he got paid. I mean, that says a lot in itself. A lot of people ball out to get the contract, and then when they get it, they kind of take their foot off the pedal. Jonathan Allen, if anything, has played his best football since after getting paid. I don't know what it is, but he finally went back into his Alabama self. Remember, coming out of the draft, Jonathan Allen was arguably the best defensive player in that draft class. Not even just defensive lineman, not just defensive tackle, the best and most dominant defensive player that season in all of college football. We were lucky to get him where we got him because of some arthritis issues and things like that. And then his rookie and sophomore seasons, he had flashes, but he wasn't looking like, where's that dominant, game-changing, all-pro defensive tackle that we were seeing? We're starting to finally see that with him now. And then Daron Payne right next to him, how Jonathan Allen has been playing better since he got the money. Daron Payne is doing what you would typically expect out of a guy who has an upcoming contract. He's about to be an unrestricted free agent. He's playing his best football trying to get the money. Again, he already has a career high in sacks with 6.5, tied with Jonathan Allen for the most on the team. I mean, that's just ridiculous in itself that 2 interior defensive linemen are leading a team in sacks. Not just one of them like Aaron Donald style, but both of them tied right together neck and neck. But again, he's playing his best ball trying to get the contract. Now, I'm hoping that if we give him the contract, and we're going to talk about contract stuff and numbers a little bit later, I hope that when he gets it, he'll still continue to ball out like he is now. Jonathan Allen is a great example of how to continue balling out after you get the big time, life-changing, family-changing money. And so if anybody can help Daron Payne stay focused after we get him the long-term contract, is Jonathan Allen. But again, the most important part is that Daron Payne is playing his best football right now, trying to get this big time contract. Whether it's him just auditioning for other teams and showing other teams what he can do so he can get paid from them, or just showing us, hey man, you better pay up because I'm making moves right now, and without me, who knows where y'all would be right now, so y'all better pay up. 6.5 sacks from an interior defensive lineman is crazy in itself. Now, the 2023 salary cap is expected to go up to $225 million. Well, according to Spot Track, $224,922,410 specifically. And as of right now, with everybody that we currently have on the books going into the 2023 season, and again, not including Daron Payne, we only have $12.8 million worth of salary cap space. But the thing is, Carson Wentz counts as $26 million, slightly over $26 million, and I highly doubt we bring him back. So you can go ahead and add $26 million to that. That's $38 million, really $39 million worth of cap space. I think that's enough to pay Daron Payne right there alone, along with some other guys. You may want to look into trying to pay Cole Holcomb long term, especially if he comes back healthy and continues to ball out. Cameron Curl, we need to start looking at his contract. It's a few guys we got to figure out how we're going to pay him. So $39 million worth of cap space sounds nice, but I mean, Wes Schweitzer, Trey Turner, which I doubt we're going to bring back at this point. I mean, Cam Sims, he's always always finding a way to stick around, even though we don't really pay him much, but he sticks around. Taylor Heineke, technically our starting quarterback right now, unlikely to be our starting quarterback next year, but still, you got to at the very least keep him as a backup. F.A. Obata, who's been better than I even expected, and I had pretty high expectations for him coming in with his athleticism, but he's been playing well. Tyler Larson, even though he's not your ideal starting center, he's been our starting center during these win streaks because Chase Roulier's been out for forever and probably gone for the entire season. Now, David Mayo and John Bostic, not big priorities at all. I would prefer to replace those guys right now if we can. Then you have Jonathan Williams as a backup running back, not really important. Nick Martin, not very important. Khaleke Hudson, starting to show a little something in special teams. Right there, blocking 2 punts the past 2 games. Daniel Wise, you can pay him a little bit of money. Milo Eifler, pay him a little bit of money. Jeremy Reeves, I mean, he may make a Pro Bowl this season, but you could probably still pay him a little bit of money. Then you also have Eli Wolf and Rashad Wildgoose, all who will be free agents this upcoming offseason in different ways, though. Like, pretty much almost everybody I listed is an unrestricted free agent, while Khaleke Hudson is a restricted free agent. And then Milo Eifler and Daniel Wise and Rashad Wildgoose are ERFAs. So there's some guys you got to pay, man. And again, Cameron Curl, even though he won't be an unrestricted free agent this upcoming offseason, the 2023 offseason, in the same free agent class as DARON Payne, you may want to find a way to go ahead and pay him long term as soon as possible and get that out the way. So again, $39 million sounds like a lot, and that's great and all, but that may not be enough, man, and we may want to bring in other free agents from outside the team. But at the same time, man, like I've already said, even though Kendall Fuller is starting to ball out and that pick six was amazing, we'll see how he looks by the time the season ends, because in 2023 he'll be an almost $12 million cap hit. We can get $12 million back for him, so it would be nice if we could find a way to get him to take a pay cut, or maybe you release Kendall Fuller, and if you were to release him this upcoming offseason, he would be $3 million worth of dead cap, so you would save over $8 million to be able to help pay for DARON Payne or whatever. But you may not even have to do that, but that is one option, to where you release Kendall Fuller, get an additional $8 million to the already $39 that you have after letting Carson Wentz go as well with no dead cap, and now you have $47 million, and you're probably going to end up drafting corner in the first round at that point as well, or maybe bringing in another guy for cheap, or maybe you cut Kendall Fuller and bring him back on a cheaper contract, or you just get him to take a pay cut. Either way, there's ways to get to $40 million of cap space or more before we even hit free agency. And you should be able to pay DARON Payne. I mean, I think that amount of money right there, you should be straight for paying DARON Payne. I would think so. So I'm not too worried about the money side of it. But how much do we think DARON Payne will cost? Well, some people think that it may be somewhere around $19 million a year. Jonathan Allen, a couple of years ago, signed his 4-year contract extension for around $18 million a year. I wouldn't be surprised with the way that the cap space goes up every year and inflation and all of that. DARON Payne will probably ask for somewhere around $20 million a year. And again, even without cutting Kendall Fuller, if Kendall Fuller's still eating up the full amount of cap space that he's owed right now, with no pay cut, no nothing, we should be able to pay DARON Payne and still have like $20 million left for whoever else you want to pay, whether it be, again, re-signing like a Cameron Curl or Cole Holcomb long term, or bringing in outside free agents to the team. So the options are there. I mean, at this point, I'm surprised we haven't already done it. The only problem is this current season with Carson Wentz still in the book, and you can't cut Carson Wentz right now. It's too much dead cap. Being able to cut Carson Wentz and avoiding dead cap starts next season, not this season. So right now, we only have less than $7 million worth of cap space. So that's where the struggle begins. And I'm not sure how they can potentially finagle the contract situations to be able to go ahead and pay him before the end of this season. But once we move into the new league year and we start going into the 2023 cap space balance and availability, we should have plenty of money to pay DARON Payne. So just based on that, I'm estimating that we won't pay DARON Payne long term until the offseason and until we officially move into the 2023 offseason, when our cap space goes from $7 million to, after you cut Carson Wentz, to almost $40 million. So again, I just want to reiterate, don't expect us to pay DARON Payne long term and give him his big contract during this season because we literally just don't have the space. But then again, DARON Payne is eating up $8 million worth of cap space right now. And if you were to give him that extra 6, maybe that's 14 mil a year, but I doubt he takes that. I highly doubt that. He's going for 19, 20 million for sure. Man, us not moving that Carson Wentz contract over the course of the next couple of years, the ability to cut him with no dick cap 2023 and beyond is just absolutely amazing. But a really interesting statistic that I want to bring up and why DARON Payne matters so much, why John Ridgeway, Jonathan Allen, you don't want to break up this core and adding Phidarian Mathis is only going to help. Here's a quote from a breakdown from the Texans Commanders game. The Texans were down quickly on Sunday, forcing them to largely abandon the ground game early. That said, Dameon Pierce did not fare well against the Commanders defense, only gaining 8 yards on 10 carries. His negative 27 RYOE was the third lowest in week 11, despite him only facing a stacked box on just 10% of his rushes. So even though we dominated stopping Dameon Pierce and his scary rushing attack that people were hyping up, and I'm still very high on Dameon Pierce. I just think it's hard, no matter how good you are of a running back, if your quarterback can't make plays, then we're just going to stack the box against you. But, I mean, apparently our defensive line is so good, and Jamin Davis, again, the lone linebacker out there at times, that we only stacked the box 10% of the plays that he ran the ball. That was just purely the defensive line being dominant, and Jamin Davis and the safeties also coming down to help occasionally. But that's a big reflection on how dominant our defensive line was. I mean, a lot of people would think, oh, okay, after what Dameon Pierce did to the Eagles and how the Commanders stopped him for only 8 yards on 10 carries, people probably would just assume without watching the film that we stacked the box all of the time. We only stacked the box 10% of the time. That was straight up the defensive line dominating Dameon Pierce, and that allowed us to use the rest of our players on defense to make sure we stop Davis Mills and don't give him anything easy. That's why this defense has been so dominant, because this defensive line is able to do what they need to do against the run, against the pass, getting to the quarterback, that it allows us to basically have the other 7 guys on defense to help with coverage. It's really an unfair formula, honestly. When your defensive line is this dominant, it allows you to get so creative on the back end. I mean, Derek Forrest is playing free safety, strong safety in the box and in the slot, all in the course of one game, because our defensive line allows us to have that flexibility. Again, our defensive line being so dominant allows us to have Jamin Davis as our sole linebacker on the field at times. I keep saying that because I'm trying to emphasize how crazy that is. People were worried about him even playing will linebacker coming into this offseason. And not only is he our Mike linebacker since Cole Holcomb's been gone, he's been the only linebacker on the field, and we're getting away with that because of DARON Payne and this defensive line. Why would you want to break that up? Why would you want to fix what's not broken? Y'all better find a way to pay him. Already laid out how you can. There's an obvious path. Sadly, we'll probably have to wait until the offseason to do it. But of course, as a fan, I would prefer my nerves to be calm than y'all find a way to do it before the end of the season. But again, for reasons I've already stated, the math is not mathing. Probably won't be able to do it till the offseason anyway. So again, just want to say, don't panic, Commanders fans. I think it will get done. I'm pretty sure it will get done. And Ron Rivera's words and the math that I just presented y'all should have y'all confident in the fact and optimistic that DARON Payne should get paid and will get paid long term with the Commanders. He's not going anywhere, y'all. It's crazy because, I mean, there were trade rumors. It sounded very likely that we would end up trading him. We were even taking trade talks, like we were taking calls and everything during the draft process. And then we drafted Phidarian Mathis. It looked like, oh yeah, DARON Payne is definitely gone. But after the season that DARON Payne is having, and I was already one of the people that was saying, man, I would love to keep DARON Payne if we can find a way. And then after drafting Phidarian Mathis, it was like, oh yeah, but he's balling out. It just looks like an obvious no-brainer. You got to find a way to keep him and keep this defensive line intact, because this secondary is able to do what they do, and these linebackers are able to do what they do, because we have the best defensive line in football, point blank, period. And Chase Young isn't even back yet. And he should be back this upcoming game against the Falcons, which is just going to be unfair. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please leave a like on this video if you liked it, if you learned anything. Of course, man, I appreciate all of the support, man. Shouts out to all of my sponsors, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors, whose name you see scrolling on the screen right now. Man, I really appreciate y'all. Definitely get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about this entire situation. Are you willing to cut Kendall Fuller to keep DARON Payne? Let me know. And of course, catch y'all later. I'm out.